Hey, it's Steve here, and I got an idea for a carving. Today I want to show you how to go from this to this. Watch till the end and see how it turns out. Okay, before we get started today, I just wanted to give you a little background on why we're carving what we're carving today. I was working on preparing for a beginner's wood carving class I'm going to be teaching next month. And I was cutting out some comfort bird blanks on my bandsaw. And I've got these, the pieces of wood I was using was a little longer than what I needed. So I ended up with a bunch of these scrap pieces. And I was looking at them like, hey, that kind of looks like some bunny ears. It is getting close to Easter. Let's make a bunny video. Never carved a bunny video or carved a bunny for a video before, so thought that would be a good project for today. So anyway, that's kind of, you never know where the inspiration is going to come from. Here it's a piece of scrap wood. Okay. All right, so I've got this piece of 1.5 by 1.5 inches, and I believe it's about 6 inches long, so just shy of 1.5 inches in both directions. So about 37, 38 millimeters, and it's just under, this is about 5 7/8 or 48 millimeter, or 148 millimeters long. I would just kind of start with a blank piece of wood here and see what we can come up with. I haven't carved these before in this way, and I don't, it's not a practiced thing where this is number 8 or anything. This is the first time I'm trying this, so let's see what we can come up with. And get our cut resistant glove on our non-dominant hand that we hold the piece of wood with, and we got had to make a new thumb guard. I think the cat's got the last one. I lost it. I'm not sure where it went, but anyway, make sure as you're carving safely. Okay, so let's get a knife for today. We're gonna use my favorite Badger State Blades 1.5-inch bench knife, and it's freshly stropped and ready to go. Okay, where's the rabbit hiding in this thing? So if we're looking at the front view, we're gonna have to have some ears, right? I don't know, let's just guess. This, like I said, I haven't worked this all out yet. Let's say that that's gonna be the top of his head. Some ears up there. And we'll come down a little less than that distance again. Maybe that'll be the bottom of his head, and then the rest is maybe, I'm just kind of glancing over at my reference images here, but roughly it looks like halfway between the neck and the ground is where he's got his feet hanging. So maybe a little higher than that. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with on the front view. And on the side, we're going to have the head come back, and the ears are going to be back towards the back of the head. So we'll just kind of bring that line around, maybe 2/3 of the way back on this block. It'll come up. Something like that. So all this material up here will get removed, and that will leave us, we'll kind of go at an angle here for the ears. I better come a little bit further forward. Okay, something like that. Again, when you're doing a carving like this, just the idea is get the rough shape first before you worry about any details. And then down here at the bottom, we'll have feet. All right, let's start getting rid of these corners because the rabbits I see don't have square corners. So we're going to just start right in up here at the top where we know we're going to remove all this in front of the ears. Let's start taking some chunks off there. So after we have a rough sketch, we'll just instead start removing quite a bit of this wood and get the rough location and shape of the ears. Push this back. Let's bring this line around where the top of his head's going to be, and then get a V shape going in here. Again, we're just getting rough shapes at this time. Location and rough shape. Okay. Kind of see that might be some ears sticking up there. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is we need to push back the upper body here. We want some left. These legs are going to kind of come out to the sides like this. So essentially we need to remove this area in here. Okay, if we want to take a look at the front of the head, we've got some cheeks sticking out here. So we'll bring this in on the sides, And I angle that up a little bit like this. To get the rough shape of the head, and we'll push that back. We can remove some wood here between the front of the ears. Got these cheeks popping a little bit here. Okay, then we're going to where these cheeks are, I'm going to create the nose right here in the center. Okay, so basically we want to end up with kind of a ball here. It comes around like this. Some nice chubby cheeks on there. Okay, and then this needs to come back and slope up towards here. So let's work on that. Do a little scoop cut there. Those rabbit's eyes are kind of on the side of their head. And let's figure out where we're going to land the top of the head. I think that looks about right. And at that point, we're going to push the ears back a little bit more here, or the top of the head back towards the ears, I should say. Okay, now that we kind of have the ears roughed in there a little bit, it's real rough yet. We see where we're going with this nose. Kind of make a little stop cut there. I want to push back these cheeks a little bit on the sides. We'll need to bring that back so we can round it a little more. And we'll come up here beside the nose. And push the eye sockets back. Get in here pretty close to the nose and make these little tiny scoop cuts, kind of clean that up. Remember, everything is rough at this point, so we're going to want to have enough room here to round things. Okay, now I think we need to cut this in underneath here a little bit more. We'll come in, maybe just take a section out of the center here. Do a stop cut, and then we can come back up to it with this gouge. Help remove that. Okay, so before we get too caught up in the details here, we need to take this back underneath the feet a little ways, something like this. So we have a little bit of room here to indicate the top feet or the front feet, and then we want to curve it in and have a little bit more of a belly, and then we want to have a little room. Let's just kind of, for symmetry's sake, let's take this side and mark where we came in over here, and do the same there. And again, we can just take this gouge across here. Just to kind of get started, I think I'm going to go back to the knife. I'm just kind of a knife guy. Once in a while, it's nice to have those gouges, but I'm just way more comfortable with a knife. Okay, we can clean out in between here a little more. Make some big fluffy feet down here. And we'll, on the side, we'll bring that around and angle it back down a little bit towards the back corner. Let's make some stop cuts here, some V cuts on the corner, kind of define that a little bit. Just kind of rounding, smoothing, shaping the belly a little bit here. It's not a very wide rabbit, so we don't want this belly sticking out here real funny. Take that back a little bit. We still want it to be rounded, but we don't want it that much. Okay, and we're just gonna start rounding some of these outside edges. We haven't really addressed that at all. Okay, so we've got our feet indicated, front feet, hind feet. Again, this is a narrow rabbit, but one thing we have to do is we have to kind of bring our roughing out to the back side a little bit. So let's take the head around here. So we got to be able to start rounding these back edges more. Okay, remove this area, make kind of a neck area, reduce that down. We'll round this. We want it a little bit fatter down here at the bottom. And this area here, we'll probably bring it in a little bit. Again, it's not very wide, so it's not going to be super realistic. But let's just see what we can come up with here. Create that neck area coming around. Okay, now we need to indicate those front shoulders, front feet, arc in here, something like that. Okay, bring those in a little bit. And I think we'll take this. I have 4mm number 7 come in here. Just to get a little more definition. Okay, I think probably the next thing we need to do is, like we did underneath the front legs here, we need to define the hind legs a little bit. We're going to come in and just make an arc like that. Okay, we're pretty well getting this guy roughed out now. The major shapes are there. There's some symmetry issues we have to correct, and a lot of detail work. One thing I think we want to do is the feet look pretty square. Let's take some off of these back corners. What we have here is the ear kind of comes up here, and I want them to curve towards the top like that. Again, trying to keep them symmetrical somewhat. Ears, I feel, aren't quite as critical to keep symmetrical because, you know, they could be having one twisted or turned different or different angle or whatever, and I think that would look fine. So let's start with that. Try to get this to curve out here. So the outside of the ear is kind of curved around and it ends here. So the inside of the ear, and it comes up like this. So this we want to have curved. We're going to take this line here down to the side and have that come out like this. I'll take out the inside of this ear a little more. So we're just going to ease up to our stop line there. Okay, we'll kind of continue our work on this ear. I want to get the center of it hollowed out quite a bit more, and then we'll carefully round the top down to that. I feel that's a safer way to go about that. Okay, I think getting pretty close on the inside of this ear. Take a little bit more out down here for the ear canal. Get rid of our pencil lines out here. And then we'll want to thin this up coming up and over the top. You want to take nice thin slices and do a lot of slicing here so we don't put a lot of pressure on it. Okay, I think that's about what we're looking for the ear. We can round the head here more. Give us just a little bit smoother spot to start working from here. Okay, so just like on this one, we want the opening of the ear to be off to the side of the head. So we're gonna, just like we did here, we're gonna kind of come around. Pretty happy with the ears. We still have a little cleanup to do in the middle there and some final touches, but I'm gonna move away from the ears for now. I want to look at the rest of this, and what I'm not liking is this little pot belly sticking out a little too far, and we didn't start with a very wide block. So I'm trying to get some shape in these lower legs. So I think what I need to do is just kind of slim down this whole area. So let's work on that a little bit. Pretty happy with the ears. We still have a little cleanup to do in the middle there and some final touches, but I'm going to move away from the ears for now. I want to look at the rest of this, and what I'm not liking is this little pot belly sticking out a little too far, and we didn't start with a very wide block. So I'm trying to get some shape in these lower legs. So I think what I need to do is just kind of slim down this whole area. So let's work on that a little bit. Almost looks like a kangaroo with that pouch sticking out. Maybe that's what we should carve next sometime. I guess there's a lot of similarities between rabbits and kangaroos, the way they're built. This will help our back feet kind of stick out a little more. Okay. Okay, I kind of like how I cut the back side of this leg, made it a little more curved. I want to do that to this one. Let's do the same on this side. Angle away from the leg. Okay, let's get back to putting some toes on here. I'll make 4 toes. 4 toes would be 3 lines, not 4 lines. Got one longer one in the center. A little bit shorter ones on the side. We'll just kind of start these using this V tool. Really like these intermediate size file gouges. They're big enough where if you're working on a bigger piece, 2 hands and get in there like that, they're still big enough for that, but they're also a nice size to just kind of grab a hold kind of halfway on the handle and on the tang here, and just kind of run it that way. Use this same thing to come around the nose here. Let's get the pencil lines off of these toes. Okay, the next thing I want to do is we still have kind of some flat spots on the front of these cheeks, and we just need to round those over a little more. Kind of a flat spot on the sides here too. We want to get rid of that. Okay, it's starting to look pretty good. I think I might try to round these hind legs just a little bit more. They're kind of flat. When you have a situation like this where it's a flat spot and you don't have a lot of wood to round it properly, one of the things I like to do is start on the top and just barely tip your knife to catch the edges as it kind of comes off. And you're not putting much of a rounded edge on there, but it does change it enough. The light hits it a little different, and sometimes that helps out when you don't have much room. That we didn't take much wood off of there. Now it looks nice and round. And you're starting with a small piece of wood. That's what you got to do, and that's fine. That's kind of the look we're going for. Just a couple things left on this guy. There's always these little areas. I've said this before in other videos. You can, when you get down to being basically done, just spend some time, just really look it over, kind of tip it slightly. A little bit of a flat spot on the back of his head. We'll kind of do the same thing there that we did on the side of the legs. Okay, a couple more things. Let's round over these feet a little bit. We got flat spots on the front. Try to even them out. There's flat spots on the sides. I just want to round those off nice, and then we'll put some toes on there. It's looking pretty good. Just trying to get those feet balanced out. The knife is due for stropping the way it looks. It's starting to tear across the end grain down here. Okay. We'll do the same 3 toes down, or 4 toes down here, 3 lines. You can draw a nice long line right down the center. Oops, little shorter ones off to the side. And then we'll see if we can get this V tool in here. A little bit deeper on these back paws. Okay, we'll come back and clean up any pencil lines we left behind. Okay, the next thing I want to do is work on finishing up the face here. A little triangle opening for a mouth in here. Kind of come down and across like that. Take our knife, go deep in there, deep in there, and then come across and pop that right out. Let's put some eyes on this guy. Kind of flatten out our eye sockets here. Okay, now we're gonna just use the tip of our knife and cut around that line carefully, slowly. And I'm going about straight in. And then what I'll do is I'll cut back to this line from both sides, essentially making a V cut. And then I'll kind of feather the outside of that back. And that should leave a nice rounded eyeball sticking out. We'll cut from the inside first. And spin the piece all the way around. Okay, now we come back and go around the outside. Just kind of work at it from both angles, both sides. Try to get nice and deep in there. Okay, well, let's do the same with this eye. I think we're going to call this one done. It's kind of a fun little rabbit. Again, we had some limitations with it being an 1.5-inch square block to make a 6-inch character that's supposed to be kind of a chubby bunny. It's pretty difficult to do. I kind of feel like from this point up, I like it, but I wish that down here I would have had more wood to make more of a rounded look and bigger hind legs. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. If you guys like this kind of content, please take a second, hit the subscribe button, and give me a like. It just helps me keep going, keep motivated to make more videos. And don't forget to check out our website, hunterscreations.com. We have carving knives, carving gloves, finger tape, some other things like that. So go check it out. We also have some cool t-shirts. So until next time, thanks for watching.